Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness for Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Get that off the screen, thank you. Hello, and I hope everyone's having a grand day. Always like starting it out with a couple Bible verses. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Excuse me, I'll put that to the side over here. My other laptop had to do something on it right quick, I'm sorry. Matthew 18, verse 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Isaiah 1:17. Make sure to do the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips balance in favor of fair use. Without further ado, today I wanted to look up CPS failure in Tennessee. Some of these cases predominantly are in Tennessee, but majority of this, what I'm showing is, but I'm bringing this to awareness. By no means, do not get violent. Do not go and attack anyone. This does not give you the permission to go around and try to harm anyone. Try to seek justice the proper way. Without further ado, which one? Okay. I want to start talking about where a Tennessee DCS worker was fired, charged with child solicitation. Hey there, our bucket list. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in, my sister. It's always so good to see you. First, I'll start off with this sorry piece of crap that worked with DCS. Let me change it and go to settings where you'll be able to hear the video.
Department of Children's Services has been fired after being accused of solicitation of a minor. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Greg Hurst.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. 50-year-old Chris Baker of Bolivar worked as a team leader with the Office of Child Safety at DCS. That is until his arrest 2 days ago. As WREG's Mike Sirianni reports, Baker is accused of misconduct with the 16-year-old girl.
Chris Baker is out on bond.
Chris, can I talk to you real quick? Chris, can I talk to you about the accusations against you?
With no intention of talking to WREG about the serious charges against him. Baker had been working for the Tennessee Department of Children's Services and became the subject of an investigation involving a 16-year-old Bolivar girl.
Had a note left on her car at a business in Bolivar, and she took that note to the Bolivar Police Department along with her parents.
Sergeant Aubrey Richardson works with the Tennessee Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force at the Jackson PD and says Bolivar police asked the task force to help in the investigation and the note's connection to Chris Baker.
The Bolivar Police Department knew very early on his identity, and they shared that with me.
Richardson would not discuss the contents of the note, but investigators using a decoy made contact with Baker and arranged a meeting.
The suspect showed up in Jackson to a local park expecting to have sex with an underage female.
Baker was arrested and charged with solicitation of a minor. The Department of Children's Services terminated Baker following an internal investigation which found gross misconduct. News of Baker's arrest sparked quick reaction in Bolivar.
I got a 14-year-old daughter, and just predators out there, and it's a lot to worry about.
In Bolivar, Mike Suriani, WREG News Channel 3.
Chris Baker's next court date is unknown at this time. DCS says Baker will have the right to appeal his termination.
21 Subaru Forester Premium, $26,900.
It's a DCS worker right there. They're supposed to take care of our children. An employee at the state of Tennessee Department of Children's Services has been fired for gross misconduct and charged with solicitation of a minor. Remember that name, everybody. Remember that name. Which get a pen and paper, write down that name myself. So I want to further see if more information on him at a later time. Mr. Baker, Bolivar, Tennessee. There we go. So let's go to the next story. This was a black family. Black family. Then CPS took their kids. The 5 children were placed in state custody, including a 4-month-old who was still breastfeeding. And this was March 17, 2023. The stop was because of tinted black windows. The 2 black parents from Georgia are reportedly fighting to get their 5 children back from the state of Tennessee. A saga that began when they were pulled over for more than a month ago for tinted windows and arrested for possession of a small amount of cannabis. Okay, cannabis. They had that on them. Bianca, but it could be medical. We don't know that, right? Bianca Claiborne and Deontay Williams were driving to a funeral in Chicago on February the 17th when Tennessee Highway Patrol officers in rural County, Tennessee, pulled them over for dark tinted windows and traveling in the left lane while not actively passing, according to The Lookout, a nonprofit news organization that broke the story and spoke with the family. Yeah, that's kind of strange how we got that law only to be driving in the left lane basically if you're passing. But sometimes I drive in the left lane because I'm getting ready. You know, a lot of times it's going to be busy on up there, and I drive in the left lane because I want to turn left on up the road. I hope they don't never catch me for that. Okay. After the car was pulled over, police found a blunt and a small amount of cannabis in a bag, totaling less than 5 grams of weed, according to the Tennessee Lookout. Police charged Williams with a misdemeanor and arrested him and gave Claiborne a citation. But 6 hours later, Claiborne, who was not arrested, reportedly had her 5 children taken from her and placed into state custody after the State Department of Children's Services sought and obtained an emergency order from a judge. The youngest child was a 4-month-old boy who was still breastfeeding. Claiborne told the Tennessee Lookout the other children range in ages from 2 to 7 years old. The state and court documents obtained by the Lookout had reportedly accused the family of putting their kids in danger. Williams told the Tennessee Lookout that's a lie and that he believes the state kidnapped his children. Claiborne told the Lookout that her health has been impacted, including a trip to the emergency room for a panic attack last weekend that she attributes to the anguish of being separated from her children. A lawyer representing the family said their ordeal is shocking to the conscience. I just have to believe if my clients looked different or had a different background, they would have just been given a citation and told, you just keep this stuff away from the kids and while you're in the state and they'd be out on their way. That's what lawyer Jamal Boykin told the Tennessee Lookout. The Department of Children's Services told Vice News in a statement that state anonymity laws prohibits them from commenting on active cases and suggested that anyone releasing the contents of a juvenile petition is a violation of the law. Of course, they want us to don't talk about it. DCS nevertheless went on to say that Coffee County judge was responsible for the decision to put Williams' Claiborne's kids in state custody. See, that's the guy in charge. When I say Coffee County judge. DCS and law enforcement followed protocol for collecting evidence, a spokesperson told Vice News in an email. Those findings are then presented to the court. In this instance, the evidence resulted in the court placing children in DCS custody. A Tennessee Highway Patrol spokesperson told Vice News in a statement that there is an ongoing criminal investigation and prosecution, and the district attorney's office serving Coffee County has asserted its privilege to not release documents at this time, citing rules of criminal procedure in Tennessee's courts. The Tennessee foster care system has long been recognized as one of the most troubled in the country. In July 2021, 7 kids in state custody spent the night in a DCS office space in Nashville, including multiple kids who slept directly on the floor, according to video obtained by the Tennessee Lookout at the time. And last year, the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth said in a report that from 2016 to 2020, the state has had the highest level of foster care instability in the country, defined as 3 or more placements in the first year of custody. In that time, more than 33% of Tennessee cases met that definition, compared with the national average of 14%. See, they're taking our kids. There's more than 33% of Tennessee cases met that definition, and the average is 14% nationally. Tennessee Republican State Senator has filed a bill to dismantle the Commission on Children and Youth. I think y'all need to fix it, though. Y'all need to fix the problem. Democratic State Senator London Lamar said at a press conference Thursday that the justice system was absolutely out of line, taking the children over a misdemeanor charge. It is absolutely ridiculous when marijuana is legal in about half the states in the country, and a black family got 5 of their children taken away, put into DCS that is not doing a good job taking care of the children they already have, Lamar said Thursday, and they won't give them their children back for a misdemeanor charge. Crazy, ain't it? And then here's former Millersville mayor arrested on charges of document fraud. Okay, let's see. That's where he had Millersville police arrested former Millersville mayor Tim Lassiter Tuesday night on charges of tampering with government records and criminal simulation. Lassiter posted $10,000 bond and was released a few hours after his arrest. Meanwhile, family outside the Sumner County Jail told News Channel 5 they still weren't clear on why Lassiter was arrested. Earlier in the day, Millersville Assistant Police Chief Sean Taylor spoke at the City Commissioners meeting and said they anticipated several arrests as part of the Operation Clean Sweep. So we're going to go further beyond that and get back to the watchdog group concerned about deaths of Tennessee children in homes known to state caseworkers. So this is fiscal year 2016, fiscal year 2017, fiscal year 2018, fiscal year 2019, 2020. Look at 2021, y'all. These are the death cases in Tennessee. Right here. Look how much it's grown. 2016 to 2021. Tennessee's Child Protection Agency. I need to get me a mouse, y'all. Is struggling to keep up with child abuse investigations, and caseworkers have been challenged by a growing number of children entering foster care. Now, a new report from a watchdog group finds that an abnormally high number of vulnerable children died after their families had come to the attention of the Department of Children's Services. Those incidents when abuse happens within a home where problems had already been documented draw special attention from the Second Look Commission. State lawmakers created the group in 2011 to closely scrutinize decision making by DCS and other child protection agencies. The Commission's latest report finds that the most recent fiscal year, from mid-2021 to mid-2022, 7 Tennessee children died after DCS had documented prior abuse. That's the most in any year since 2014. We knew something happened and we intervened and it still happened. And so that really becomes our responsibility to fix that challenge, says Kylie Graves, the Commission's director. One of the greatest responsibilities that we have as a state is to protect children. Since 2013, 37 Tennessee children had died after investigators became involved with the family. You'll see that? The Commission does not disclose many specifics about incidents, but does pinpoint concerns. In one fatality, DCS and police failed to grasp the severity of a child's medical condition. In another, a family wasn't following court orders but was allowed to keep custody, leading to the child's death. The Commission also examines non-fatal cases in which children experience severe abuse more than once. There were 569 children in that situation in the latest year. That's too many, y'all. And there's so many more that's not even getting reported. The group has been seeing an encouraging decline in those incidences before the coronavirus pandemic. We really saw that uptick and increase. Yeah, we worried about that when the parents were all going to be at home and with the kids 24/7. We worried about that as survivors and all. Second look is also flagging concerns about district attorneys, many of whom haven't been filing statistics about child abuse that are mandated by state law. As we know, what's been going on with the Grant Solomon and Gracie Solomon, and a lot of that, they're filing those cases. How many of them other ones, the trouble in Franklin County, a lot of them, they're dismissing the children cases that have been sexually abused. And they supposed to be mandate reporters and go like this and help our children. Instead, they're sweeping it under the rug and treating it like they don't matter. The Commission wants to see data compliance improve, and the group recommends that every county dedicate one specially trained prosecutor to child abuse. They'll be asking state lawmakers to fund research into the needs for district attorneys. So let's go to, oh wow, that other one just went away. Get rid of this ad. Okay, here's Kid Jack right here. Here's where the seized control of a child by use of force. This was December 2020. The Tennessee News section is your source for the latest in family news items, CPS reform efforts, open court demands, abolition of confidentiality laws that judges hide behind foster care deaths and issues, legal cases, and more. Please email, here it is, email KidJack with news and information from the state of Tennessee, and I will include it in here for our coverage. If you need assistance with a current case, please consider starting your own blog or submit your article for publication. Please see our posted guidelines chatted up on the Jacked Up blog. Refuse to be silent. Okay, let's go put it up here. That's where a detective fights online child abuse. A Bedford County detective is receiving advanced training in fighting cyber crimes against children. The Bedford County Sheriff's Office has been accepted as an affiliate member of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. The Sheriff's Office really saw a need to do this type of thing, Host said. My goal is to be proactive as opposed to reactive. The ICAC program is described on its website as a national network of 61 coordinated task forces across the nation. Tennessee's headquarters is in Knoxville. So let's go on down to the CPS, what had happened here. And this was January 31st, 2016. Jack Campbell judge took children from their homes without legal grounds. In Jacksboro, Tennessee, 2 children were taken from their home this week and kept from their parents for 4 days after a judge ordered so without a hearing or legal cause, according to statements in court Friday. As their parents wept, the 8th Judicial Circuit Judge John McAfee ordered the children ages 15 and 3 return home, declared the actions of the judge who ordered them taken improper, and removed her from the family's case. Hallelujah. Thank God. Thank God. Somebody, a judge, that actually did something. Thank you, John Circuit Judge John McCarthy for correcting that mistake, that horrendous undue justice that they did to that family. They didn't just do it to the parents, but they did it to the kids as well. What happened to the kids when they weren't CPS and scared too, you wonder. There's former CPS investigators sentenced to 2 years of probation. The former Child Protective Services investigator will now spend the next 2 years on probation after pleading guilty to forging records in a child death investigation. What? That's where he forged records in a child death investigation. Wow. And that's in Sullivan County in 2016. During Kathy Agnew's sentencing hearing in Sullivan County today, she received some support from a former Tennessee Department of Children's Services colleague. According to court records, one of DCS's assistant general counsels wrote a letter of support praising Agnew's past service, a document her attorney referenced today in court. When you falsify or forge a child's death investigation document, what? And then there was this person that was arrested on 4 counts of child neglect. Mother faces child neglect, drug charges, substance is found within reach of toddler, pregnancy crimes, new drugs, and so now let's go to. So remember this website where y'all can look at these other stories? It's called kidjack.com. Okay? And here is a Facebook group for FACT, Families Against CPS DCS Corruption in Tennessee. Y'all with Facebook putting up with this kind of stuff going on in Tennessee? Be sure you join this group so you get your children. This is a nonprofit organization. It's got Tennessee Family. Please make sure you're following the Family Forward Project. We want our stolen children back now. This is where a lady she had worked for CPS. So she wrote this little bag story right here. Perspective of a Child Protective Services investigator for the state of Tennessee. Have you ever sat and wondered what happens with the children who didn't get the chance to grow up in a home with a parent or parents who are fully equipped to meet their needs? What about the kids who show up at school and are just a little scrappy? You have ever sat and wondered about what happens to kids after the news headline you might have seen while scrolling? Keep reading. First, I want to introduce myself. For privacy reasons, I can't share my name, but I currently work as a supervising case manager for a nonprofit in Nashville, Tennessee. Prior to my career in foster care, I worked at a Child Protective Services she worked at that as a for the state of Tennessee. I am a licensed master's level social worker, or LMSW. I spent my entire adult life to this point training and educating myself in child welfare, trauma, and foster care system. I don't know if I would call myself an expert yet, but I'm working on it. The foster care system is complicated, it's messy, and most of the time it doesn't make any sense. During my undergraduate studies in Arkansas, I was horrified to learn the condition of most children entering the foster care system across the country. I learned that while the goal of the state is family preservation, there are times when that is not possible. Most of the time, there is significant safety concern or imminent danger that prompts the removal of the children into the foster care system. This process can feel rushed, and the children are expected to pick up their entire lives as quickly as possible. Sometimes there wasn't even time for that, and the child is removed without any other things. Sometimes a child is abandoned for different reasons, so they come to foster care with absolutely nothing belonging to them. If the children are lucky enough to come with anything belonging at all, 9 times out of 10, all their belongings will be thrown into trash bags. As a college student, I was horrified to learn this. nothing diminishing the worth of human life more than throwing all their belongings into a trash bag. It seems like such a simple thing, but the message each soul receives when this happens is something like, I am worthless, I am trash, just like my own possessions. A message that is often believed by these vulnerable kids. As a college student, I knew this was not right. I had the privilege of creating a bag drive with some of my peers. People could donate new or general use bags to be provided to children entering the foster care system. Yeah, we need to get with that system for the kids so they have their own things too. Wow. The goal being that no matter how often they moved, they had bags that belonged to them. This was just the beginning. When I moved to, sorry about that. Sorry. When I moved to Nashville as a CPS worker, I was a frontline working to preserve families when possible and utilize and removing children into foster care when safety could not be reached otherwise. I experienced firsthand as an employee what it was like to put children's belongings into trash bags when nothing else was available. I was with numerous children from ages 3 to 18 who had been abandoned with absolutely nothing to their name. There were times when we had the resources to provide the children with bags and clothes right away, and times we did not. I vividly remember one experience of an 8-year-old who had been left at school. He was a car rider whose ride never showed up. I spent hours trying to locate his mother or any other family member. None could be found. We sat in my office while I did the endless paperwork required to find a foster home for him. While we sat there, he asked me if his mom was dead. This moment would stick with me forever. It was about 12 a.m. at this point. I answered him truthfully because at that point we could not locate her and did not know if she was alive or not. I told him that I didn't know, but if and when we found her, our team would do everything we could to help her. Later that night, I dropped him off at the foster home with nothing but his backpack from school and the clothes on his back. The foster dad left the house at 2 a.m. to go to Walmart so that this little boy would have clothes to wear the next day. Whoa. Thankfully, we were able to locate his mother. She was alive and was able to get the help she needed after her son entered foster care. Years later, it sticks with me that there were times that, like this little boy, I dropped children off at homes with either their few belongings in a trash bag or two, or worse, with nothing at all. There's one story that I want to share because of the impact it had on my career. I'm sorry, I'm crying right here. It's really getting to me. I had the privilege of working with a 9-year-old boy who was about a year into the time with my foster care agency. He came to us from another foster home outside of our agency. I already worked with 3 of his siblings, so we were working towards reunifying siblings. At the time he came to us, he had been in foster care for about a year. He had been in the previous placement for about 8 months. I picked him up from that home and was horrified as I filled my trunk with trash bags that contained all his belongings. This boy had been in foster care for over a year with the resources to support the foster family and give this boy some of the dignity and worth that is due every human. Instead, we packed everything he owned into trash bags. I was furious. We got to my office and spent a couple of hours folding and sorting his clothes into brand new suitcases that had been donated to my organization. Before we started, I gave him the choice of helping me or doing something else. This little boy sat with me and organized his clothing to be packed into his new bags. I watched his emotions and disbelief when I explained that the bags were his to keep, no matter where he lived. Years later, I had the honor of knowing that he would never again be forced to pack his life into a trash bag. He, like every other human I've met, is worth more than that. If you're still reading at this point, this is what I want you to know. The impact of the small things is indescribable. Little actions matter. The messages we send through our action or inaction have a lasting impact on the people around us. Foster care can be a world that takes us away the dignity and worth of the people impacted by it. But there's a chance to change the stigma. No child or adult should be without the resources to have a backpack, duffel bag, or suitcase. Something that most people might not even think about. Has such a great reach in their lives, the most vulnerable part of our population. It's important to know what is happening in our community, in our very own neighborhoods. I know without a doubt that I would never take advantage of the fact that I personally own different bags that I can pack my life into when needed. But I also hope to live in a world where no child ever forced to tote their life around in a trash bag because they are worth so much more. Thank you so much to that sweet, precious lady there. And here, right here, is another place where it says the law, family law, divorce. Go back to it because it seemed to go away for a minute. Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay? It says it's muted. Can you hear me okay? Why it said muted? And this is November 2002. What you're about to read is neither a fairy tale or a dream or tell unmissed true statements. This is happening to my husband and I, and we do not know how to stop it. And this is where you find thelaw.com. 5 months ago, following a call to the Department of Children's Services by a neighbor that my children, ages 5 and 7, had allegedly run off down the street. Caseworkers arrived at my home later that evening after business hours, and without a court order or even so much as a verbal order from a judge through means of intimidation and coercion, took my children and placed them with a non-custodial father who had abandoned them several years before. Thank you, Bucket. The DCS did follow up with a lengthy in-depth investigation which focused mainly on my new husband. We've been married just a few days, who we were told had nothing to do with the situation. There was never a preliminary or adjudicatory hearing in the matter, never a court order. It never came before the court, and after initial safety agreement, a supplementary, not legal form used to show reasonable efforts to prevent removal was due to expire. Instead of returning my children to me, they simply extended it, never offered any explanation of services to me, and made a copy of a redated, altered, after the fact, unsigned safety agreement. I still have the unsigned document. Either directly or indirectly related to DCS's investigation, our plan to move into a new home we already closed on were scrapped. My husband lost a lucrative contract position at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and the residence we were living in temporarily was robbed twice in 2 days. My husband was forced to liquidate all his assets, including his sole primary residence, in order to allow us the funds to relocate to a safer residence. Once we established a permanent residence in my hometown in Iowa, want some family support and safer environment for my children, and realized that DCS had never ever gotten a court order to remove the children from our home and had no right to keep the children from us, we made plans to return to Tennessee and retrieve our little girls. Immediately upon establishing our residence in Iowa, the biological father, with the help of DCS officials, 2 months after the children were removed from my home, filed a private party petition for temporary custody of the children using the standard DCS pre-removal petition, trying this matter up in court in Tennessee. This is so wrong, y'all. So wrong. I went to court for a hearing on this matter on August 26, 2002, and was given a court-appointed attorney who was clearly under the impression that it was a DCS hearing and not a private party petition, and strongly advised that a signed another safety agreement leaving the children in the care of their non-custodial father for another 3 months while waiting their trial date on November 25th, 2002. No one informed the attorney, who was brought in from another room, of the fact that DCS removed the children prior to that day and never gave them back or even filed a petition, or the judge for that matter. During this 3-month period, I received no documentation or on paper from DCS or the courts, no signatures, court orders, or copies or any paperwork promised to me. Caseworkers continued to make demands of me by telephone, insisting that I had to comply with their orders or I would never see my girls again, but would never put any of these orders in writing. I sent documentation which made it evident to my attorney that the children had been taken from me by state employees illegally. Is this not kidnapping? A conspiracy to kidnap, as the worker and the father were outside alone discussing the situation and place for the father? No court orders had ever been filed by the state, no hearings had ever been held, and no judgment ever granted by a court. When this became evident to the court-appointed attorney, he went before the court and asked to withdraw for the case days before the trial date, leaving me without representation outside the state of Tennessee, unable to afford an attorney. Figured that attorney would have helped. On the instruction of the court, via the attorney's petition of the withdrawal, I compiled my evidence to present to the judge in the case and was prepared to motion for dismissal of the case based on all this evidence. On the day of the trial, the judge refused to allow me to present my evidence and allowed the state, who had not filed the petition, to present their case against me under the guise of representing the father. Is this even a moral, ethical, or even legal in a private party petition? I asked to be appointed another attorney and was refused counsel by the judge. The DCS attorney was then allowed to see the statement I had prepared, but the judge refused to even look at it. Simply denied my motion for dismissal or even to allow me to present any evidence telling my side of the story, even after I stood up in open court and stated, at no time was I ever granted an adjudicatory hearing before the court in this matter. Statement was ignored, and I was ordered by the judge to sit down. The judge found in favor of the petitioner, and the court was dismissed. I was sent on my way without any court order or paperwork of any kind being given to me or instructions on how to appeal the decision. We'll mail it to you. I would like to know why the state of Tennessee has been allowed to kidnap my children, place them with non-custodial parents for 5 months, help him in retaining them in his possession, help him financially by assisting him in terminating child support after having the children in his care for 23 days under a voluntary safety agreement that was scheduled for to last 30 days. Assist him with state funds for child care when he makes more than $50,000 a year, and grant him the assistance of a state attorney on a privately filed petition for temporary custody of minor children. No one would help us, listen to us, or even believe us, and we have all the legal documents to prove it. We want our girls back, and then expose the corruption and sue the state of Tennessee and everyone involved, but no one would even tell us how to do it. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Tennessee, I am not proud of y'all. I will say that. And I have said that in a lot of instances. And this is 3 months ago. I would have not believed you until I witnessed a similar abduction in Georgia where a grandmother and step-grandfather were able to legally kidnap their grandchildren, one of whom was not any blood relation. They were able to do so pursuant to a perjurious petition that contained many inaccurate statements and asserted an emergency state that was never investigated in the ex parte one side only hearing. Somehow this was deemed within the court's jurisdiction. But these are all small courts in small counties where sometimes the law isn't quite applied appropriately. That said, I'm not sure what I'm missing here. Under what power was anyone able to take your children? Additionally, what is the history that led DCS to place your children with a biological but non-custodial father? There's something going on here that is responsible for this mess. It seems to me that the father has come back and used DCS court to take away the children on some basis. Even DCS employees wouldn't stick their neck out and grab their children knowing that could be liable. Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would. They would. They would. We know better than that. But that's this guy's opinion. There also has to be some paperwork. What did your attorney tell you with regard to the case? Why did you agree to the extensions for custody of your children with the father? You never should agree to this. Don't get on to her. You went there. She explained it all. Well, I'm going to get off of that because this is making me madder than that one right there. So here's a scathing audit. A Tennessee Department of Children's Services find kids are placed in danger. Look at these kids here, y'all. This was December 14th, 2022. Grainy still photos cropped from video obtained by the Tennessee Lookout. Children in state custody sleep on the floor of the state office building. One teen sleeps on the bare floor while another lies on an air mattress with no blanket. The children were in the custody of the Department of Children's Services. These poor children don't even have a bed to sleep in, but sleeping on the floor. The mission of the Tennessee Department of Children's Services is to protect vulnerable kids, but a new report paints a detailed and disturbing portrait of a state agency that has repeatedly placed children in harm's way. The 164-page audit. Yes, it should be. The 164-page audit released Tuesday by the State Comptroller chronicles multiple failures by DCS to keep kids safe once they have been taken into state custody, typically after they have already been abused or neglected in their own homes. An abuse hotline took as many as 40 days to pass along reports of sexual abuse of children in state custody of child abuse investigators. See that? Let's reread that. An abuse hotline took as many as 40 days to pass along reports of sexual abuse of children in state custody to child abuse investigators who then delayed their investigations. An audit of the Tennessee Department of Children's Services said. They said it themselves, y'all. Now it's going right, but it's going too much. Okay. So when we're going back like this, look at these pictures here. The safety, permanency, and well-being of Tennessee's most vulnerable children is in jeopardy, the report concludes. The report was released ahead of a legislative hearing Wednesday, at which DCS leaders are expected to be closely questioned by state lawmakers. I'm trying to make it bigger here so I can, but it's not wanting to get bigger. Okay. Months of media coverage has featured kids forced to sleep on office floors and in hospital beds while social workers struggle with enormous caseloads and turnover among staff is at an all-time high. Look at right here. An office cubicle with a child's belongings in DCS Shelby Region office building where some kids are sleeping overnight. comptroller's report makes public new details about the dire and damaging conditions children have been subjected to while in the custody of the department. Children placed in residential facilities who reported sexual abuse or harassment were left remaining in potentially abusive situations for weeks before the investigators spoke to them. They reported being sexually abused, but they waited weeks before going to help them out. What's wrong with that problem, y'all? An abuse hotline took as many as 40 days to pass along incidents of sexual abuse of kids in state custody to child abuse investigators, who then sometimes took weeks to do their own investigation. What? The abuse hotline, it's a hotline, took as many as 40 days to pass along incidents of sexual abuse of kids in state custody to child abuse investigators, who then sometimes took weeks on their own to do their own investigations. Oh my goodness. Wow. Auditors found 34 instances involving children in state custody whose reports of inappropriate sexual conduct were not investigated by the agency at all. That's what I'm asking, Bucket. That is what the heck I'm asking. Those allegations that may have involved child perpetrators were reported to law enforcement, but the audit notes that DCS officials failed to investigate whether the adults charged with supervising these children failed to do their jobs. And remember with that first study when there was a DCS worker that was trying to meet up with that young girl? The Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Juvenile Justice should ensure that DCS has a robust response system that supports zero tolerance of sexual abuse and sexual harassment within all residential facilities, Otis said. They should ensure? That should already been ensured, right? Zero tolerance of sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Why would they wait 40 days for a hotline? Why would they wait weeks and everything before they even try to go to the person who had reported that they were being sexually abused in that where they're at? And they did nothing. Nothing at all to help these kids. They made them stay and continue being tortured. I think for that, they need to go to jail when they knew about it. When they did nothing to get the child any help and they were under their own care. A DCS contractor's employee was the subject of 16 internal investigations for reported physical abuse of children in state custody over a 2-year period. See, he was a DCS employee. Look. Is the subject of 16 internal investigations for reported physical abuse of children in state custody over a 2-year period. But he was continued allowed to work with around the kids, to be with the kids. In May 2022, he was indicted on charges of aggravated assault and reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon after firing on children who had fled a Nashville residential facility in a car. I remember I had that story before when he did that. That man actually fired a gun at these kids who were trying to escape his abuse. But the bad thing is he already had these other stuff, but he was continued. They let him continue to be around the kids and take care of the kids. These kids, it had to be their own safety to try to get out of there. The report makes no mention of injuries to the children, but notes the car crashed. Y'all need to be held responsible. Everyone who did nothing, who did not protect all these children, who were still letting this monster be around our kids. You take them away from parents to save their lives, and it might be that they need to get their life together a little bit. You're not giving them a chance to get their life together. Sometimes you took the kids away falsely, which a lot of these cases is happening too. And you let them in the case where there's this guy that's doing these, abusing these children, and then y'all knew it, and y'all kept letting him do it? When management does not identify staff with multiple investigations of misconduct, such as those involved in the aggravated assault and reckless endangerment case discussed above, similar tragedies are likely, and management is therefore increasing the risk of harm to children. So they do not identify staff with multiple investigations of misconduct. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's something you should do. If it was an average person, they would do that. I agree. And the report notes kids who should have been in foster care homes spent up to 38 nights sleeping in inappropriate temporary housing, included DCS's office, which we showed a few pictures above here, like that one at the desk thing right there. It's the belongings, sleeping like this on the floors and stuff. Children in temporary settings do not always have food, clothes, beds, or a shower, the audit noted. Given placement shortages, the use of temporary settings when no other long-term placements can be found has transitioned from a rare emergency occurrence to an increasingly necessary department practice. State Senator Heidi Campbell, Nashville, and Representative Gloria Johnson, in a news release on Tuesday, noted they have created a website documenting DCS's shortcomings. Oh, okay. The pair pointedly criticized Governor Bill Lee and the state Republicans' leadership for blocking a bill this year that would have capped caseloads. They said they were from ages 3. How old was what? How old are these two? I think they said from age 3 to age 17 or 18, I believe. There's probably even younger than that. If you see that kid right there, look how young. He look like young. Can't really tell. Can't really tell right there. So it says children who came to DCS became, because they suffered neglect or abuse, are being victimized a second time because the governor and supermajority have failed to invest in the people responsible for their care, just like they did the Gracie and Grant Solomon case. You know? Just exactly like they did the Gracie Grant Solomon. So how do we expect them to try to help out really with the other cases? I don't trust them on any of the cases of the missing kids in Tennessee. I really don't. When they're covering up and helping Senator Jack Johnson, Judge Deanna Johnson, and Governor Bill Lee is helping Aaron Solomon out, I trust them for nothing. Along with the Gallatin Police Department in Gallatin, Tennessee, that covered for his death, that covered for Grant Solomon's death, instead of anyone having to pay for that crime. Campbell noted the crisis. Okay, it said the crisis in DCS is not news to state leaders. There is no excuse for inaction, half-hearted fixes, or more delays, she said. The department's top responsibility is to keep children out of harm's way, and we will sound the alarm until the state lives up to that promise. DCS Commissioner Marty Quinn has been in the job since September, tapped by Governor Bill Lee to address crisis within the agency, which receives about $1.1 billion annually in federal and state funding to investigate child abuse and neglect, run the state's foster care system, and oversee Tennessee's juvenile justice programs. Last month, Quinn requested a $156 million budget increase to raise caseworker salaries, pay private residential centers higher rates, and create more suitable temporary homes with the state subcontracts foster care recruiting and management to build up more adequate pool of foster homes. What you need to do is adequately teach them to not be taking away some kids that don't need to be taken away. Some of these kids, like, it's misdemeanor charges, and you go ahead and take the kids away from the families, which is not good. Sometimes there's no reason behind it. I've got a lot of people, a lot of friends at Facebook that's dealing with that in their states. The CPS doing this, and the government doing that to them. That budget increase, if approved by lawmakers, will not take effect until July. Leah said he believes the state has some options to expedite financial aid to the agency, partially using funds within the current state budget, but has declined to call a special legislative session to address the crisis. Well, some of these are the news articles. Some of them is 2022. Let's see what this one is right here. This is 2022 in December. So they're still trying to fight that on the news things. Let's go to the website documenting. So 2022 was not that. This is 2000 and present. There's a lawsuit here. Let me go to see what's to present here. Let's go down here. 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021. And there's 2022. Going further down, see what else is going on. So 2023, let's get down there to that. Kids in Tennessee are more likely to be shuffled from one temporary home to another during their first year in foster care than foster kids living anywhere else in the nation, according to a news report. A lot of them quit. A lot of them quit. The report released Tuesday followed months of public scrutiny of DCS that has revealed a litany of problems impacting the day-to-day welfare of kids in state custody, including children being forced to sleep for days at a time on floors of state office buildings and for months at a time in hospital beds because there are no other suitable places to put them. Extraordinarily high turnover among social workers and unmanageable caseloads have left the department unable to ensure children's safety. More than one-third of all Tennessee kids coming into foster care since 2016 have been moved to three or more different foster homes or other placements in their first 12 months in state custody, a practice with potentially long-term negative impacts on the well-being of kids who have already suffered the trauma of being removed from their homes as a result of abuse or trauma. A lot of times these homes, they're being abused still. That's February 2023. The Tennessee, they're asking for more money right there. It's going further down to see how far. So this is the last they put in here was February 2023. The Tennessee Department Children's Services asked for additional $156 million next fiscal year. It's well on its way to get that and more. Lee revealed pieces of the budget plan in the address on Monday night before the Department of Finance and Administration laid it out in a Senate Finance Ways and Means Committee Tuesday morning. Democrats said the big numbers are a good start, but Lee gave no clear plan for action to follow. We think there's more that can be done. We appreciate the funding that's going there for the workers, including increasing salaries. House Minority Leader Karen Kemper said, but we did not talk about caseloads. Caseloads have been a major issue for the department. When the audit revealed first-year caseworkers were quitting at a rate of 97% in 2021, the department capped those workers' case numbers at 10. But that decision still left veteran workers' caseloads in place. You can increase salaries, and people are appreciative of that, but the caseload is just so high that's still causing problems, Kemper said. We want to see more of that type to reform. Like I said, there's still a problem with them taking our kids illegally, if you know what I'm talking about there. I guess I'd stop the. Isn't that kind of strange, though? I'll show that again where I'll show you where I got that from. Um, I did not realize I closed the screen out, so let me show you again. So I went here with this scathing audit here, the children of place right here. And then when I went down here, here's a website where it shows the scathing reports of it. And it goes on down like December, it goes on down. And then it says 2021, where reported police were called weeks before an unannounced DCS visit to a migrant facility, which the agency claimed launched an investigation into child abuse occurring at the department's immigrant children facility. What? That's where he was hurting them at a immigrant children facility? Channel 3 has uncovered police reports that raise questions about when the Department of Children's Services learned of allegations of child abuse inside its Chattanooga migrant children's facility. As previously stated, police first learned of the allegation on May the 21st. A woman at the Baptiste group called police. A civilian teleserve employee took her report, which included the victim and suspect's information. That report was coded as child abuse. But DCS Commissioner Jennifer Nichols said in a joint hearing on June 16th that DCS learned of the allegation during an unannounced visit to the facility 13 days later. According to a spokesperson for the Chattanooga Police Department, investigators did not know about the May incidents and were investigating when DCS made the call to make their report. See, they were not going and let people know. Okay. And there it goes like this. Davy Crockett Tower. Wonder what happened here. Tennessee Lookout reported that children, including gotta hang up that, sorry though. Including elementary school age kids were sleeping on the floors of the DCS office space in Davy Crockett Tower. Teenage girl was left to sleep directly on the floor without a blanket or a pillow. Taking kids to sleep with strangers in an office without providing essential comforts represents a failure by the state agency to live up to its most basic duties, according to a longtime DCS caseworker who requested anonymity at a peer drawing attention to the department's treatment of children resulting in firing. Being unable to find a placement was an ongoing problem before the pandemic. It's gotten much worse. The number of kids sleeping in offices has never been this bad. Caseworkers say that DCS has failed to provide enough backup for kids taken into custody, foster parents, or temporary and more appropriate spaces as the pandemic impacted the ongoing willingness of foster parents to take in children. When kids have to stay in offices, caseworkers have to stay with them too. finding their own child care arrangements, and adding to the burden of an already stressful job, caseworker said. Oh boy. And see right here, when August 2021, which wasn't too long ago, but it's still a couple years, revealed serious issues within the department. The survey was conducted among 14 regions, documents show. A total of 1,990 employees completed the survey, representing 60% of the department's entire staff. Among hundreds of detailed comments, many complained about an overflowing caseload coupled with underappreciation from the agency's top leadership. Many described working overtime without compensation, which they said contributed to their burnout. Staff members worked an average of 42.25 hours per week, according to survey results. Child Protective Service workers average almost 45 hours a week, the most among their peers. Caseworkers wrote they had unmanageable caseloads impacting their ability to adequately do their jobs, and some complained that their bosses focused more on internal benchmarks than taking their time needed to provide services for kids and families in crisis. More internal benchmarks and taking the time to give the kids what they need? Wow. Said, as a whole, we do not care about safety, our employees, or the children we serve. We only care that we close cases in a timely fashion and look good on paper, read one comment. Wow. Wow, you see that? As a whole, we do not care about safety of our employees or the children we serve. Wow. We only care that we close cases in a timely fashion and look good on paper, read one comment. We're averaging 40 to 50 open CPS Child Protective Services investigations at a time, read another. Never in my life have I experienced such a harsh and negative environment which causes unnecessary psychological harm to youth and staff. We don't care about the kids? We don't care about the workers? What? Aren't you supposed to be doing this because of the kids? Say what? I'd like to know who that was that actually wrote that saying that. Wow. There it is again, right there. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. We don't care what happens as long as it looks good on papers. And here is where you can actually get the whole survey copy of it right here. But I guess that's gonna have to be. I think I'm gonna try to copy that down and download it and take a look at it. If it will let me, that will be. But it ain't gonna let me make it bigger right now. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I went ahead and saved a copy of that. Letter to Governor Lee to DESS concerns. That was September the 9th, 2021. Yeah, and then black children are jailed for a crime that doesn't exist. Almost nothing happened to the adults in charge. 11 members Congress sent a letter in October asking the Department of Justice to open an investigation into the juvenile justice system in Rutherford County. The letter sent to Attorney General Merrick Garland says Tennessee children deserve to enjoy their childhoods without the fear of being unjustly searched, detained, charged, and imprisoned. The letter's signers include Representative Steve Cohen from Memphis, such and such and such, like this. Members of Congress are asking for an investigation into Rutherford County's juvenile court following WPLN's report. They were jailing a lot of our kids, people. The parents were not in trouble, but they were trying to take over our kids. Look at there. There's another thing right here. This was a Tennessee Tribune. DCS trolls black babies for cash. Let's see what that says here. This is a sixth article of the Tennessee Tribune series for the Department of Children's Services. Fourth Circuit Court Judge Bill Smith and Department of Child Services Attorney Shay Jolly are about to take away an African American baby from his family and give him to a white foster home in Old Hickory. If they succeed, the state of Tennessee will get at least $5,000 from the federal government, a bonus every state gets when someone adopts a neglected or abused child and they are not related by blood. The adoption incentive can be as high as $10,000 a child, but if a child is placed with a relative, the state gets no bonus. See, that's partly why they're doing a lot of it. See, if they adopted out to a non-custodial family, look at that, and they get that. Skylar Mitchell is 16 months old in September 2020. DCS took Skylar from his mother, Lauren Mitchell. The 3-month-old baby was placed in foster care with Adrian Wayne Ray III and his wife. They have no kids of their own. Under DCS policy, foster parents are required to work with the birth parents and are provided from seeking a termination of parental rights and adoption on their own. It's in their contract. Mitchell is mentally disabled and cannot care for Skylar. Her older son, Michael, 6, lives with his aunt, Angela Mayo, and his paternal grandmother, Angela Mayo Sr. They want to raise Skylar. They are qualified, and under the rules governing placement of abandoned or neglected children, Skylar's relatives have top priority to become his caretakers. A relative placement is when kids leave DCS custody to live with family members. On September the 18th, 2020, Moyo Jr. appeared in Davidson County Juvenile Court to discuss Skylar's placement for the first time. I told them all that Skylar is loved, is wanted, and that I was not doing everything possible in order to get him, Moyo said. That meant getting a new apartment ready for both boys and herself. Lauren was on board with that plan, and so was DCF supposedly. On February 10th, 2021, Moyo Jr. emailed caseworker Reba Terry to tell her she found a home for the boys. Moyo Jr. said she emailed, called, and texted the caseworker to schedule a home inspection. Reba Terry is a DCS social worker who should have expedited the relative placement. She is Moyo's attorney. Said Connie Maguli. She is Moyo's attorney. Terry dragged her feet for 6 weeks. There was plenty DCS should have been doing to reunify the family, according to the Tennessee Department of Children's Services family plans. DCS supports relatives who take on the responsibility of raising related children when birth parents are unable to do so. Kinship placements and the kinship resource home approval process will continue to go through modifications to improve the timeliness to approval and to provide financial assistance with a shorter period of time. And then there's a series of case reviews to target cases for needed work towards permanency and all. Special 9-month legal review to ensure casework activities are on track. Well, anyway, on March 23rd, the Fosters, DCS caseworker Terry and her supervisor Tanya Russell, and all that held a progress meeting by phone about what remained to be done before Angela could become Skylar's guardian. Moyo Jr. repeated her desire to be Skylar's caretaker, and she asked why DCS hadn't done a home inspection yet. Caseworker Reba Terry did the home inspection the next day, and it was fine. All the conditions of the permanency plan have been met, and there's only remaining fingerprinting and signing some paperwork before Skylar would start a life with his extended family. On April the 8th, 2021, Terry met Angela for to sign her final paperwork. Both birth mother Lauren and Auntie Angela Mayo Jr. told the Tribune they were expectant and thrilled they would no longer have to plan visits with Skylar because he would soon be living with Angela. According to Moyo Jr., immediately after Terry left with the signed permanency plan paperwork on April 8th, she called the Ray's fosters and told them that Moyo Jr. was about to take custody of Skylar. The lawyer representing the Rays is attorney Wendy Jan Weatherford. On October the 9th, he filed an ex parte restraining order to keep DCS from awarding Moyo Jr. custody of Skylar. Smith signed the order. The Rays also filed a petition to terminate Lawrence from parental rights for adoption and another ex parte restraining order. So then the meet with Ray's Moto Jr. Skylar's mom, Lauren Mitchell, is a pivotal moment in the case. Lauren reported she had completed her domestic violence class, her parenting assessment, and said she was working on housing. Moto Jr. said that everyone on the call and acted like everything was going along like it should, and DCS was still going to play Skylar with her. I had been telling them and being in constant communication with them and the foster parents, and everybody agreed at the point. Angela is going to get the baby. The DCS could have placed Skylar with Angela Jr. if they acted quickly, and they should have, but they didn't. Instead, they were deceitful, as were the foster parents. DCS would soon betray not only Skylar's family, but also its own principle of reuniting families. So they ended up getting a lot of money by going ahead and putting these kids up for adoption. So that's another caseload in showing the scathing problems with DCS in Tennessee. Not really caring about our kids. Well, thank you so much for listening. There's a lot more cases out there than this. Lots of love, Bucket. Thanks for coming in, girl. Y'all take care and have a blessed day.